This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free, and the creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Well, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. This is probably like episode, 42?
Maybe.
I think it was like 42 or 43.
Something like that. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a while.
Yeah. All right, we're back. It's Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy
I'm
holidays.
not gonna sing anymore. I can't really sing.
Yeah. But we're done with school basically. So how's your break going so far?
My break's going well. Teacher told us to take a week off for continuing production on the good old films, so that's great. I'm enjoying my week off. I technically have 4 weeks off, but animation production takes 50 years, so got to get to that grindstone early. I'll be spending the next couple weeks just working on backgrounds as I enlisted you in this procedure. So this will be fun. One moment.
You getting a call?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so mine's pretty been decent, I think. Overall, just like senior project work is probably still the same about this over here. Where I probably only have to do backgrounds and like a bit of touch up on animation, but it's not that much. It's more of just the coloring. It's going to be a pain in the ass because some of the lines didn't connect when I initially drew them. So me converting all of my vector lines down to rastered lines is just a pain in the ass because like my program has steps, so I have to convert it all down to raster lines, then merge those lines down into a rastered layer.
Yes, yeah.
So I could just use
rasterized layer.
Yeah, so I could use a fill tool and whatnot. But sometimes it's a pain in the ass because like for the fill tool, like there's not enough layers for the colors. So what it ends up being is that some of the colors, like for the dark and highlights, will be colored the same line because it's a fill bucket replace tool. So you can put over the one color and then it'll place all that color on the thing, which is really nice.
You use clipping mask, right?
No.
I prefer that. But
this is for like just straight animation.
Oh,
coloring.
for sure. Okay.
It's not for backgrounds. Backgrounds I always like hand paints like freehand draw it.
Oh wow.
Because like for what I do is like for textures like I would choose like a brush and like spread out like the grain digitally.
Mm-hmm.
But I typically just like I'll fill it in with the bucket tool for the flat color first, and then I'll add like highlights and like shit texture and like depth to it.
Right.
And that's what I usually do.
Yeah, I mean, like when it comes to backgrounds, it's just like I'm such a fucking like I'm so dedicated to just making all the details in the background, and it takes up all my time. And like my friends at college always comment, it's like you have so many fucking lines in your background.
I know.
And I'm like, yeah.
A lot of times, like what's more popular nowadays is like lineless backgrounds, which is fine.
Yeah.
But like. Even at that point, like though, you still need to make the initial lines to do it anyway, so they're already there. They're just hidden.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have a problem where I don't really use like a textured brush or anything like that. I just use the straight normal brush.
Yeah, and then you add like a gradient for like like a slow shadow or whatnot.
Right. Or I just make it like or I just make it a different color, and I'll be like, that's all I need, because you do definitely need to like, I mean. You do need to like differentiate it from the actual animated character, or else it'll look like they'll blend in, which is kind of
that's the thing. Is just like okay, so the reason like how my stuff works is like okay, has the 1.5 pixel outline, and then all the backgrounds are like no lines, like so you're drawing the attention to the actual character instead of like the background instead. Yeah,
exactly. And yeah, it's kind of like the Hell of a Boss situation where the background is more interesting than the actual characters.
Yeah,
and,
and like. Are they coming out with a part 2 finale or?
Yeah, so they basically announced season 2.
Okay.
They showed
a trailer. I remember seeing that. Yeah. But I was like, did they announce like the last episode yet?
No.
And I was just like, I know they did like the part 1 finale.
Yeah, there was part 1, and then they just came out with the trailer like, hey, we're gonna do a season 2, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm not worried about the season finale now. Yeah. I mean.
It does well. It trends like anytime it comes out. They get like millions of views.
They really kicked it out of. They really knocked it out of the park, which I'm really glad about.
But Smiling Friends though.
Yeah, Smiling Friends. Holy
Dude,
shit.
I saw the trailer for that, and like everything looks really well done.
Witch
Just,
Quest.
yeah.
The fucking- That's just totally unfair.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh no, that's not my hair. It's an exposed nerve ending.
Oh man, I can't wait.
Is it okay? Is it okay that we gave him all the sleeping pills? Yeah, no.
fine.
Nothing bad ever happens to sleeping pills. That show's gonna be
dude.
the wonders. I actually I put a comment underneath their trailer video for Adult Swim, and I said it's gonna be pretty funny when this wins like an Emmy
Yeah.
television award.
Yeah. God, I love Adult Swim, dude. It's nice.
Yeah, Adult Swim is pretty good for like just animation in general. I do
Yeah.
think that if you're looking for something new to watch, Adult Swim is probably the best place.
Yeah, them and Netflix do a pretty good job. I honestly feel like Netflix for me like has just provides that sort of cool like middle ground where it's like it's either kind of it's not too edgy, but it's like more adult. It's more adult.
I don't know. It's like
than-
I don't think Netflix is good at making its own IPs. I don't.
No, you're right.
I think if you're looking for like something new, like brand new IPs, look for Adult Swim. If you're looking for like good adaptations, I think like Netflix is pretty decent.
Yes. What let me rephrase it. They've got good series that other like DreamWorks and other series have made that they posted on there. I should say
other like
yes.
because Netflix is more of like the sort of like third person, like
Yeah.
we pay you to this one-time fee to get your series onto here.
Yes.
And then we'll distribute it.
Yeah.
But anything merchandising, that kind of stuff.
They've
is up
got
to
good
you.
stuff on there.
Yeah.
They didn't make it. It's just they.
And that's something I have a big problem with Netflix in general. Just because like I say this a lot. Where just like Netflix originals is such a bad term because a lot of the stuff
Yeah.
isn't original. It's Netflix bought / produced.
Yeah, I mean that's
So
pretty
it's
much every company.
the money's backed by Netflix, but it wasn't intentionally made for as an original idea.
I mean, that's literally like every streaming service, to be honest with you, though. It's like a Disney original. It's like they didn't really, I mean...
Well, I mean,
Lucasfilm.
Disney, like a Disney Plus original, like for the Hawkeye series, like that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, that's an original idea technically.
Well, it's Marvel.
Yeah, but Disney owns Marvel. It's one of those things
That's
where
the thing,
where it's like
they own the
they're
license.
taking they're putting these productions like adaptation wise into their own like spin onto it. But like Netflix is just kind of like this the leasing kind of person where it's like, oh, we'll pay you this certain amount of money to
Right,
make
yeah.
this and put it on our site, but you can distribute it like onto television and whatnot.
Right, yeah.
And that's my problem. Is just like these aren't like original ideas that they're or IPs that they're making.
Yeah,
they're
you
kind
just
of
slap
like
your
you're
slapping
slapping your
name on it.
logos onto this over here, and I just think it's just disingenuous to like everyone who works on the production. But it does bring like a certain like devil's advocate to a certain degree of like quality.
Yeah, it's kind of like how... I guess like the best way like I'm thinking of it, it's like kind of like video games when a corporation like maybe like EA.
Yeah,
with,
so the
like,
publisher versus the developer.
Yeah,
The publisher and
yeah.
developers are complete two different things.
Yeah.
The developer are the actual makers of the game. The publisher puts it up online. So like people like for example, Chucklefish was the publisher for Stardew Valley, but Concerned Ape developed it.
Yes, and then like EA, and then who was the one who made Apex? I forget the name. Who
forget.
developers of Apex? I forget, but yeah, I mean like EA claims like, oh yeah, we did it, but it's like
No,
okay.
they published the game.
They published it.
It might be a subsidiary game studio of EA, but
Yeah.
EA is very just the more the brand publishing kind of thing.
I've never like besides like games companies nowadays is like, oh Jesus Christ. It's like with Activision, it's like, oh my God.
Well, so it's like all the
and then
industry's been like that. It's been misogynist as hell. Like
Yeah.
you gotta realize that this is it's just because like people just brought it to light. This
Yeah.
has been happening like in every single industry, no matter
That's
what.
That's a sad truth. Fuck, man.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm an animator. Nothing goes wrong there. Oh wait.
Like the industry's always fucked up. Like there's
Yeah.
no good way to say about this. You just
Yeah.
need to make sure that things are properly put in place, security measures and whatnot.
Yeah. Be a dude. I guess that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah, just be a standard human being. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah. Just
Life
be
lessons.
Be a nice person. But-
But we also did finish watching the Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City movie.
well, that was
So
fucking
yeah,
weird. Okay, so let's see. Let's start with like a rating, I guess, 1 out of 10. I mean,
I'd say a solid 5 at best.
yeah, I would say like a 4.
The effects and like the set designs are really well done, but the whole entire story is a absolute gobbledygook of a mess.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just like they try. It was literally just a cash grab. I feel like it was just they.
No, I don't think it was like, even that of a cash grab because like who the fuck would see this movie
You're right.
besides
yeah.
Resident Evil fans? And there's a very small, finite amount of us that would see this movies multiple times because this had a theatrical release, and there weren't a lot of people in that theater when I initially went.
No, probably not.
There weren't a lot of people.
No. Yeah, it's like we were talking about this throughout the movie. Like, this is so like there was a scene where they had the different keys for the in the two remake, like, you had to find these keys. There was the heart key, the club key,
for the police station,
and the spade. I think it was the spade key. Clover key.
The clubs.
And so we were like saying like, okay, but like, if you hadn't played any like of the remake or the original
too, it's like who the fuck would know this?
Who would know anything?
And that's the
like
thing;
this?
It's a reference. I don't think it legitimately had any purpose.
No, it
didn't. They literally could have put like a big, like, large umbrella key, like umbrella logo on the end of it, and they'd be like, "Oh, it's an umbrella key."
She uses the key once, and then like that was
Dumps
it.
Yeah,
that was it. There was no point.
Yeah, so I think what we came away from this is that they really should just either stick to the games or don't do it at all. Because when I talked about to you initially, I was like, okay, you're gonna really see like where this movie is strong and where it's really, really weak. The weakness is in the story, obviously, but where it's strong is a good like cinematic lighting and good like overall decent acting between each character.
CG was pretty decent at times,
and CG was pretty decent as well. But I think you would agree with me where initially when Alpha Team goes to find Bravo in the forest, that's where the movie should have started, and they should have just done Resident Evil 1 straight through.
Yeah, absolutely. When they're up in the when they are up in the helicopter, and they try to figure things out, like that's perfect. Like that's great. Start there.
And that's like around the 30-minute mark in the movie.
Yeah, it's like 30, 45-minute mark. I'm like, what the fuck? Why does it take this long? Okay.
Yeah, because the entire like first like 10 minutes is a setup for like the little Deus Ex Machina near for the keys at the end. I'm just like, why do they do this?
Literally every time they would cut to like the first game with Chris, like it was so enthralling and actually like interesting because it was intense. Like there were times where he was getting swarmed and it was really scary. But then it cuts back to like Claire and Leon and Irons, and it's just like they're not doing anything. They're like staring at zombies.
They literally are just like, what the fuck's going on?
They're like, oh man, we should probably go.
Yeah.
And they like wait 15 minutes before the zombies break down the door, and they're like, oh, we should probably leave now.
Yeah.
And then they fucking walk slowly away.
It's so fucking dumb.
And then they stop when they hear them and like, we hold back and like, God, just keep going. They're not going to catch up to you. What are you doing? Or close the doors. What are you? And then it's just, oh my God, I'm about to go on a rant, but like there were 15 times, like I don't like doing this, but like in the middle of the movie, I turn next to you and I'm like, okay, 15 times have happened where zombies literally, they've got them, they grabbed them.
But they don't try to attack or bite.
They don't bite them. They just like go up to their face. They're like, Arr. And like literally there was a part where like, Irons died like 15 times in this movie. I'm saying 15 a lot for some reason, but Irons died. There were multiple times where he was about to die. Yeah. The dog specifically I'm spoiling this, but there's the dog bit. I'm like, the dog was like there. He had him. It's done. It's over. And he like he lets him get up, and I'm like, okay.
That part was dumb. I feel like he's kind of like the person who was gonna die anyway because he's got no hurt. He's a side character, obviously.
Well, how he died was like really dumb. I mean, like in the original game we saw, he died in a more like interesting way. Yeah, audio's looking really weird there. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite up, probably. That's why.
Oh yeah. Apologies about that. The audio was going crazy.
Make sure that this is
yeah.
Yeah, it should be good.
All right. Coolio, Coolster. Whoa.
Yeah, but like he died anyway. That's fine. He died more interesting than like inside Resident the game, I guess.
Yeah, I mean he had a much more interesting death, and in 2 remake he had a much more interesting death too.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this one it's just he gets killed by Liquor, and there was like no point for Liquor to show up.
I mean, it's just like, oh, look at these cool CGI monsters.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, they're kind of cool, but they're very poorly composited and lighted, because like because the Liquor is very shiny. Obviously, it's a very goopy sort of like sticky looking monster.
Yeah.
So like all the little like reflections don't look well inside the lighting because like it's not that bright. You know, it's very dark. You wouldn't get them many reflections on the skin / like monster thingy.
Mr. X.
Yeah, you really should have just. Yeah, you really should start just uncoiling it because that's probably the reason why. Yeah, but like you said, like I do think they should just like separated these two like storylines into 2 separate movies, where you kind of have the first one just be Resident Evil 1, and then sort of like mix the second film to be Resident Evil 2 and 3. Because it doesn't really make any sense for like Jill to be in this movie because we kind of focus more on Chris anyway. So you could kind of like do like, oh, Chris and Wesker and Jill go off and when they split up. So like they do like the little split up thing like Scooby Doo, whatever. They probably have to do the actual thing. There we go.
Much better.
That should.
Or not.
Or not.
What is...
Your box is just broken.
How is it? Okay. Are we good now?
Probably. But yeah,
What
so
the
it's
fuck?
one of those things where it's like you can do the whole entire Jill Wesker split up thing where it's just kind of like you kind of move forward that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you just let it sit down for a while and stop moving forward. That's I guess not.
Well, it's like there's audio. It keeps picking up audio for some reason.
Yeah, because it's like an interference, like this kind of thing. Because there's more of a chord issue, I think. I think you need to get a different chord. But yeah, so it's like the Wesker and like the Jill thing. You definitely could split it up and then move right along to the entire thing of just like, okay, focus on Chris. Who was the other guy?
It was Leon. Oh no, Chris.
Vic.
Wesker.
Chris Wesker and like the other forgettable guy.
Well, what would have helped, I think, would be the fact that this fucking...
Just leave it there. That's fine.
All right. I think what would have helped is probably the just having Mr. X. Like if we were to do...
I don't think you need a villain, you know? I think they just should do just a betrayal story and keep it simple for at least for like the Chris storyline. Yeah. Then you move into like the whole entire like thing.
Well, yeah, I mean like you're saying definitely for sure like keep them separated, so like have the Chris storyline be like one whole movie with them and the Alpha team going in. But then for the sequel, absolutely put Mr. X in there. Just have like a full-on villain. But dude, like seeing Alpha Team go in there and just seeing them get ripped to shreds was like actually scary, and I was like, that's cool. But yeah, they fucked it up.
And they fuck it up in terms of sequels because like after this, they can't do anything realistically.
Yeah.
In terms of like based on gameplay because like 4 is just Leon. But you need Ada Wong in that mix to make the connection there.
Yeah.
You can't really do the only thing you can do is Code Veronica.
Yeah.
Because they bring the Ashford twins in near the end of the movie as a reference.
Speaking of stuff that only the fans would know, I mean, like no one who doesn't understand even people who've only played like the mainline games like. Or doesn't go in that deep, wouldn't really understand like what the twins are.
Yeah,
like,
it'd be like, what the fuck's going on? What are these? And the fucking smile at the end. This guy's a fucking weirdo.
Oh, that was so weird. Yeah.
So weird. It's just the way they cut it.
So I guess like the main villain of this story, besides Wesker, is
William Birkin.
William Birkin. So it was unclear to me that was William Birkin. I mean, I had an idea, but I wasn't really sure. And the way he's introduced.
It's very poor.
Very strange. He gets introduced early on, and then he disappears throughout the entire rest of the movie. I blank on like the majority of the things that happen in this movie.
Yeah, William Birkin is not there at all for the majority of
William
this.
Birkin shows up for 5 seconds, leaves with his family, and then we have shit with Claire, and the stuff with Claire is like, what? And like the stuff with him, definitely the weakest part is like the stuff with Claire, Leon, Irons.
Well, but it's just overall there's too much going on. I think the biggest part of this is that there's too much going on that we can't really effectively learn or keep track of these characters.
Absolutely.
Like everything makes sense when you know what the fuck's going on, like behind the scenes, like in the game, right?
Yeah.
Because you have that knowledge already. But as someone who never seen the movie, like my dad, for example, the game's example, is just like, what the fuck's going on? Like, why are these things like there? There's a very large gap in logic, in terms of like just like story pinpoints of like these beats are just not falling, not hitting, or not, they're not on beat.
Yeah, it's very strange. The decisions they made, just like, they definitely, I get it, like, trying to do something different. Like, that's understandable. You don't want to make a carbon copy of the story, but, like, that's what people got into. And there's, like, making the decision to mix both the two of the same, like, it just boggles my mind. Why would they do 1 and 2 instead of doing 2 and 3? Because
Well,
2
yeah,
and 3...
that's what I said.
Yeah.
Whereas like 2 and 3 are timeline wise are very close because they're like a day before, and then 1 is like 10 months like behind 2 and 3 story. So it's just like if you do 1 correctly, then you greenlight 2 and 3 and mix those stories together to make a second movie because those are more like intertwined.
Yeah. They happen at the same time, in the same place, with pretty much like the majority of the same cast, and I don't.
Yeah, and then like even at that point, right? You could focus on like more of Jill on the second film, whereas it's like we introduced her inside the first film, but now we're using her as a segue to go into the more the second and third.
How
games.
fucking funny would it be if they did like, you know, the thing with they're so okay. Totally different dimension, right? That instead of doing 1 and 2, they do 2 and 3. How fucking cool would it be if Mr. X and Nemesis were in the same movie, and then all of a sudden they all run into each other like, oh shit, you're getting chased by an 8-foot tall killer too? Huh, that's weird. And then they both bust through the wall. You're like, oh shit, they're both fucked.
Yeah,
and
it's one of those things too. Where just like I remembering the lore of like fucking Resident Evil is a hassle, and I'm just thinking it's like, like timeline wise, like Nemesis was there technically during 3.
Yeah.
And then the couple of hours later, they drop Mr. X later on in the thing. Well, I guess it's one of those things where it's like Nemesis was mostly for stars, remember, and like the Mr. X was mainly just to clean up like survivors and stuff.
He was the janitor.
I think that was the deal with it.
Yeah, Nemesis is basically a stronger version of Mr. X, because I mean like. Mr. X was specifically designed not to attract too much attention because he had the trench coat, the hat, and like he looked generally like a normal human being. But I mean, obviously, if you saw him walking towards you, you'd be like, okay, that's something. But yeah, and like they both function in a lot of different ways too. Mr. X likes to stay in the shadows. He likes to pop out of walls and like get you by surprise, whereas Nemesis just straight up busts through everything. He wants to kill you. He will stop at nothing. He will literally stop at nothing to kill you. And like that's different. And I like that kind of aspect. And it'd be cool, if we got like, I mean, I'm just theorizing here, but like it'd be nice if we, instead of like if it was a 2 and 3, we could like have both Leon, Claire, and Jill having to fight off Nemesis, and then like that would be kind of cool because then it'd be like everyone would be kind of referring like, how the hell is this guy still alive?
Yeah,
and like
a recurring villain that's like present enough to like keep the plot moving forward.
Yeah,
and I think that's what this movie lacked, was a necessary plot to keep going.
It lacked like a villain. It lacked like you're saying
there's a lack of urgency. That's what you're saying. It's the lack of urgency that doesn't make it good.
There's no like. The goal is kind of muddled. You don't really know what they're doing.
They're just kind of dragging them along.
They're all trying. They're trying to escape. Like that's what I'm getting. Like they're trying to escape. I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine. And like you see that with Irons, he's trying to get out. There's a cool scene where he tries to escape and like he has to like drive away, and it's kind of cool.
They're playing Journey. I think they spent more money on the fucking Golden Girls shot and the soundtrack fucking combined in the entire film.
Yeah.
Budget.
And it's not like. I kind of like to see that there's certain parts where I'm like, oh, that's a cool like perspective on it. I like that idea, but yeah, it's like, and yeah,
right.
And also like there were some parts where I'm like, ooh, they spent money on that scene. That's nice. Other times I'm like, there's some shots like the one with him, like the doctor on the phone, and like you see the family in the background.
Yeah, it's just like some things are just weirdly like angled and composited. Like lighting looks weird in certain shots. Like the ending cutscene with like Wesker and Ada is just like, what the fuck's going on? Like, why is this like weird angle?
Oh, and Wesker. Okay, so for the most part,
Little
the cast
bitch boy.
for the most part, the casting is not that bad. I just feel like
It could be written better.
they could definitely be written better. I mean, that's the whole movie. It's like they could be absolutely written better. But like the person who plays Wesker, I forget his name. He's a phenomenal actor. I love him in Umbrella
I think he's
Academy.
Canadian. Yeah, he's from the Umbrella Academy.
He's from the Umbrella,
which is kind of funny because like I remember hopping online and it's like this actor hopping from Umbrella Academy to Umbrella Corporation.
Yeah. I didn't really click. He plays like a giant, like muscular dude.
He's jacked though.
He's jacked, and I mean I get it. Like he'd be intimidating to fight, but
they don't put him that way though. He's a little crybaby, like a little bitch boy.
But the point of Wesker is like he's a conniving, scheming bastard who like tricks his friends and comrades into doing what he wants, and then he'll leave you for dead. That's his whole thing, is that he's out for himself only. And I just didn't like when I saw him as the cat. I was like, no way, that's not Wesker. He doesn't look anything like him. He's way too. He just seems like a bro, and I'm like,
they really kind of drag him through the mud a bit, where it's kind of like they keep him in the dark.
Well, he also is supposed to have that sort of preppy boy thing, where he feels like he's superior to everybody.
He's a straight edge kind of person, where it's like he is superior.
He's very much has that Virgil from Devil May Cry thing, where he's just like, I'm superior. I mean, like you guys just don't even know. And it's like. You just don't have that. But Claire was fine, except she wasn't really on screen that much, even though she was like the main character. And Chris was fine too. He was played well.
I think all the actors are fine. I really do think they should like be the same.
Yeah.
I think they just need to rewrite some of the story beats, and that's pretty much it.
Cut the beginning, like cut the first, like we were saying, 30 minutes.
Because I think the main problem is not really with the directing nor like the camera work. It's dealing with the physical, actual writing of the story that is being dragging this movie down. This could have been easy, like a solid 7, if this actually was written properly.
Yeah,
and split them to 2 movies.
That's I'm coming to realize more and more, just like writing, most important thing ever. It's like it's obvious.
It could be the most spectacular thing in the world that you make, like cinematography wise, lighting wise, but if it's shit, people aren't going to take it seriously.
Star Wars.
Exactly. The sequels weren't taken seriously because they weren't taking it seriously in the beginning.
Yeah, even the prequels. Like the prequels at times look beautiful, but the story was just so
bad,
unappealing and boring that I was just like, who cares? Yeah, and it's like if there's not really like clarity to your story, and if things just don't make sense and aren't engaging, no one's gonna care,
Yeah,
but
it's one of those things where it's just kind of like make this 2 movies. That'd probably be fine. Keep all the actors the same, and just make it like sort of not beat for beat the same as the games, but like structure wise, you need to keep it similar enough because the game story, like if you follow it loosely by the plot, it makes sense. But when you dive into it, it gets messy.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to be above the water, but you also want to be able to touch it.
Yeah. And I think that,
it's just a bad movie.
It's just a bad movie. Like a lot of characters that are very popular this series, like Leon gets fucking hosed in this movie. Like, it's not to say he was portrayed badly, because I do like that he gets portrayed, like, as a rookie cop, and that's fine.
That's fine. It makes sense.
But it's like, they make him so dumb in this movie.
He is literally the punching bag for, like, every single thing.
Yeah, everyone fucking rails on him. I'm like, dude. And I get it. It's kind of funny if, like, it starts out like that. And he does get better as the movie goes on, but it's like, okay, but he's not that dumb that he doesn't know how to shoot a gun. Like, guys.
Yeah. It's like one of those things where it's like, you kind of see, like, him become, like, from Leon from Res 2 to Res 4.
Yeah.
But Res 4 like had him do CIA training, which is different.
Yeah.
But like you still see like kind of the same attitude and like kind of like sort of one-liners near the end. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's how like that's how Leon's kind of supposed to be doing it at near like the end of the movie, because it's supposed to be like that kind of action, kind of like stupid, like Where's everybody going? Bingo?
Yeah. Sadler, you're small time. You know, it's just like stuff like that. You're like, he turns into a cheesy action hero. You love it.
Just kind of dumb.
Yeah, and I mean, like, and it's, you know, on the visual side, it's like there's so many shots that are like look good, like potentially like they look good, like the shot of the town and the zombies walking in the distance, that's neat. And just seeing certain shots lit up was really cool. Stuff of the orphanage. Oh yeah, and the Deus Ex Machina weird.
The weird Liz Trevor or whatever her name was is kind of just like weird in general, just because like she's only in the beginning because she needs to be there near the end for this one scene.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, if she's only there for that one scene, you could rewrite it and erase her.
I'm gonna say it right now. If the worst part is absolutely like the Resident Evil 2 stuff, the stuff with the orphanage. If you cut out the RE2 stuff, the orphanage, you would have like a decent short special.
You probably would have like a TV movie.
Yeah.
A TV movie, Resident Evil, where it's like 40 minutes, an hour and 10.
Yeah. And like cut out some of the bits at the end, or maybe just you know what? Just have them show up at the end. Maybe.
Honestly, I think I might take the copy and just re-edit it just to be the Resident Evil 1 stuff and see how it actually flows.
Yeah.
Because I'm very curious, like how actually this would be well done if it was just the Resident Evil 1 in terms of like making sense.
Yeah.
And then just rewrite the ending and kind of say, okay, this is what happens.
You still get the portrayal with Wesker. You still like if you were to include the stuff like at the beginning with Irons giving him the order to go out, then like after the helicopter scene, like at some point you were to integrate that, then bam, you already have the interesting opening, you have the reason for them going in, and then everything in between just flows naturally, and then that explains the part where Leon comes back at the end and kind of happens with Claire. And it just all makes sense. But yeah, fuck me. Dude, this movie is all over the place.
It's bad.
It's very bad. But, you know, I mean, I like to make fun of it, so it's not the worst movie.
If you're drunk and you have time to spare, watch the movie, because you probably have a far better time.
Take a shot every time someone could have died by a zombie bite.
Take a shot every time someone says fuck.
Yes.
Because all right, in their defense as devil's advocate, they were going to get the hard R rating anyway.
Yeah.
So they might as well say fuck as many times as they want.
Yeah. I mean, like, I get it. There's the people I would say fuck a lot in that situation, but I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of other curse words in the English vocabulary. I can think of a few others.
All right. Yeah.
But some characters, like, it's fine if like some characters say fuck a lot, like that would be fine. But the majority,
or Jesus Christ, or something like that.
Yeah. But the majority of characters like fuck.
Yeah. The dictionary they use for cursing is very limited to the F word.
Yes. they need the curse word guy. They need
to broaden horizons.
They need a good old sailor to come in and be like, all right, let me show you how it's done. And then he just lists off profanities.
It's also one of those things where it's like it's just the word fuck. They just say that.
Yes.
And it's just like it's not like, oh, you fucking kidding me? No, it's just like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no like actual like commentary to that. They just say fuck for the fuck of it.
Mm-hmm. Fucktacular.
Yeah. But
well, I've been other media. I mean, you haven't seen Cowboy Bebop remake, have you?
Not the remake, the live action version.
Oh, live action, yeah.
Thank God they canceled that show.
I haven't watched it. I wasn't.
It's just like you can't do anything like that because there's no personality to it because the whole entire personality is the animation.
Okay, so when it comes to remakes of animation, live action remakes, I'm always come down to this thing where it's like, if they change anything, it's a 50-50 toss, because some people will like it, but most people will dislike that you changed it. And if you make a carbon copy of it, then most people will hate it because
it's not the same.
It's the exact same story, but it's worse because it's not animated, which was the point that people liked it a lot, because there were certain things that were enhanced by it when it was animation. So you're in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah,
basically.
so I do think this is one of the worst properties to try to adapt.
Yes.
Just because there's just so much, like, already established stuff. You can't do much with it. If this was just a live action movie, I'd say fuck it, that's fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's a one-off movie, but it's a TV show.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, they just literally made a shot-for-shot remake of Cowboy Bebop. They shouldn't have done that. They should at least just, like, said, made a shorter version of it, like, cut out, like, some filler parts and just made it all important.
Yep.
Just keep it trucking along, it'd be fine.
If they presented it like you're saying a movie, it would work out fine. It had the budget for that. It's just like
I think the cinematography is just ugly, and set design is just ugly.
Dutch angles everywhere. Like from
just
what
the
I've
color
seen,
is just like everything's either yellow, blue, pink, or that's it.
Oh my god, the writing. What I've heard. Okay.
It's bad.
Dude.
It's very campy, and that's the thing I don't think everyone wanted it to be, was just camp.
So one line always sticks out to me, and that's the "you are black and you are male" line. That's such a stupid. Okay, so I'm about to reiterate. This is not me, but this is a little line I heard from the show, word for word. So I believe it was what was his name again? Metal Arm.
Jet.
So Jet is talking to a lady. I'm not sure who that is, and he says, "That sounds like blackmail," and later responds, "Damn right it is," or "Damn right, because you are black and you are male," or something like that. And I'm like, oof.
Oh. It's like what was this written in the 80s? Like, come on.
Oh my god, what the fuck was that? That was really bad. Oh, dude, what the fuck? And then I saw the ending bit with what's his name? The kid with the hair.
Oh, Ed.
Ed, yeah.
Oh, this is like the fucking final episode, isn't it? Because they bring Ed in the last episode. I was like, they really wanted to do a sequel, second series. And I'm like, you're not getting this because this is gonna perform so poorly,
dude. Instead of like in their minds, I bet they're like, oh, this is gonna be great. We're gonna have the last crew member of
the Bebop come in.
Bebop. That was the nail
in the
that
coffin.
Killed it for me. I was like, oh my god, no. Like, well, even then, I was like, I'm not gonna watch it. But I was like, ooh, okay. Then I'm like, I'm definitely not watching this. Yeah. And I'm sad that. I mean, I'm sorry for the people who worked on it that got it canceled.
It's like production is fine. It's just that everything like creatively was very, very bad.
And I'm kind of also really annoyed at what they did to the character who was in, like, the trans character who had the chest of a woman but had like the pretty much the body of a guy. Remember?
I don't know. I don't remember.
He was okay. Well, he was like a major character in like a 2-part series when they were on like the Frost planet or whatever.
Probably.
And I forgot his name. Damn it. But he was super important. And like they transformed him into like an ex-soldier who like worked alongside Vicious and got betrayed by him into just a barkeeper at like that restaurant or whatever they go to a lot of times.
Was he working at Seventh Heaven with Tifa?
Yeah, yeah.
Because he's ex-soldier.
Yeah. He's
Sephiroth.
Who's played by the guy who plays Wesker in the Resident Evil movie. But no, there's just a lot of characters got changed that I'm like, I don't like the changes they made to them.
It's like the changes were dumb, they were bad, and they need to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I would say is just you need to stab this in the heart, and lessons be learned, don't make your live-action adaptations ever again, unless it's a movie.
Yeah.
Because live-action movies, it's understandable of, like, why you need to cut stuff. But in a TV show, it's one of those things where it's just, like, you have the time and the money to take care of it, so you should do it.
What? Yeah. I mean,
because, like, I remember we watched the, Assassination Classroom live-action movie, mm-hmm. right? We watched that one. It was pretty decent for the budget because they knew what they're working with and budget-wise. Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, it's like, why not just watch the show?
Exactly. It's one of those things where, like, why not watch the show? It's like there's big names like John Cho and stuff, but it's kind of like, why bother?
Yep.
In my opinion, because, like, even, like, John Cho is, like, an okay actor. He's just, like, he's not the same sex appeal as Steve Blum. Or Steve Blum. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no sex. It's, like, fine body-wise, but, like, there's no emotion. Like, he's very disconnected to the entire performance, kind of.
I think more so here than in Japan. There's a major problem, or, like, a major mind. It's getting changed now. It's getting better, but the mindset that animation is for kids or for just, it's not for, like, adults. It's very limited. Like, that's just a very...
Well,
like,
it's also based on, like, history-wise of, like...
because
industry.
because of Disney, because
Warner Brothers, Looney Tunes, that kind of stuff.
DreamWorks, it's they centered it around children and stuff like that. But you have to understand also, like, Disney did a lot of stuff that was also very intense. Like,
I think
Snow White
was like one of the first ones. There's like, yeah, it had actual death on camera.
Yeah, it had death on camera. It had scary moments to it. Fantasia had some really like Night on Ball Mountain was crazy. But it's just because of, I guess, people just getting so used to cartoons for kids and stuff like that. Just in that mindset, it's like, oh well, I don't want to watch it. I'm an adult, and it's like that's not how it works.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had this conversation plenty of times.
Because it's one of those things where it's just like the animation industry, like for at least adult animation wise, that's not like pornographic or whatever, didn't really like sprout up until like the 90s with King of the Hill. Because like King of the Hill was like one of the first adult oriented animated series. Like it was pretty like life lesson based, like Full House and whatnot. But like it was more like in terms of like geared of like commentary and like kind of stuff was geared towards like adults in terms of just like audience wise.
Yeah, I mean like stuff like The Simpsons, Family Guy, King of the Hill, as you were saying, adult animation for comedy, I think really helped in a lot of ways because it was something that adults could connect to, and like it was just, instead of joking about like basic stuff like haha fart jokes or funny whatever stuff, it was now English.
Terrence and Phillip.
Yeah. But now it was more just like relatable things, just like stupid mundane stuff that adults have to deal with every day, and they connect with that on a level, and I think it's much more impactful that way, and it really helped just people realize like, oh yeah, I can relate to this as an adult, rather than just like it being about a fantasy genre and like being in a separate world or about fuzzy animals teaching moral lessons. It's like, oh, I can relate to this much more.
Yeah.
And then like nowadays we're getting independent creators like
Patreon and stuff.
Like
things.
Vizzy Pop and
Kickstarter, whatever.
Other Kickstarter stuff that just online that people show like we love animation and we want to express it in our own series and show that we can do mature content like this on animation itself without having any live action.
Yeah,
and I love it.
I kind of consider like Hazbin Hotel and Hell of a Boss kind of smut, but then again it's kind of like that's kind of like the dipping the audience into like what like hell would be like though. You know?
I mean it's their own version of it. I it's a creative license. It's their idea of it, and I like it. I mean, I'm a big fan of world building, and this is an interesting world for me. I enjoy it, but I can understand like why some people are just kind of like it's heavy on the like sexual jokes, and it can be a bit just kind of vulgar in that sense, or it's like, but also understandably that kind of works for the theme because they are in hell and people are just straight fucking weird there. Or just evil.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like it works because like that's like the whole entire shtick.
Yeah, because people don't care. They're already in the worst place.
The worst places of like that overall.
Ever. Yeah, they can't get any worse than that.
There's no lower bar. Legitimately,
yeah, they've hit rock bottom and it sucks. Yeah, and so I feel like that works fine. Once again, smart and clever writing. Just making sense there. That's where you want to use fuck a lot.
Exactly.
Because people just don't care, and it's fun too because then you get scenes where people who are genuinely nice or like actually have or intelligent just kind of stick out a lot more, and it's like it breaks the mold, and it's like very interesting to see like how those people were able to end up there, kind of like how Moxie or Millie ended up there, even though they're super nice, and I guess like because they were born there. They're
imps. I think imps are born there, but like the people who like the old man who died.
Yeah,
like, those are people who are sent to hell. That's
right.
The difference.
They're
like, all the imps
souls,
imps are created in hell, but like all the souls who kind of like die or go down there look different.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting when you look at that. So yeah, then you have that sort of interesting spark in your head, like, oh man, I wonder how the whole system even works, and then you start spiraling. So yeah, I mean, to summarize, I think that we're in a golden age now where independent creators can make their own content and explore it through animation, and I think animation's the perfect medium for that, because it's just all you need is piece of paper and a pencil,
Yeah.
a lot of pieces of paper, or a tablet and a digital pencil.
Yeah. And the thing about that too is just kind of like everything swings in a fucking pendulum. So give or take, like by 2030, the network's gonna pick up on this and be like, oh, we could do this ourselves and like make the same amount of money like independently for like streaming services. So everything's gonna move to that. Then people are gonna be like, we don't want this anymore, and then move to the next big thing. And that's the thing that is with this industry is that it always ebbs and flows and like kind of rotates every once in a while to kind of do this. Because like I remember like from the 2010 onwards, everything is more puppet based animation and more Toon Boom based.
Yes.
In terms of like creation, because a lot of times what they would do originally, the keyframe animators would send all their illustrations to Korea. Korea would color, and then in between for everything, that kind of stuff, and then do all the camera directions, and they would send that back to, and then they'd be composited into like into film and digital video. The near the end of it, because that's what Teen Titans was. It was pretty much hand drawn animation, and it was really good. The original Teen Titans, at least. And then they sent it to Korea. They did everything else. They used the Korean magic to color and whatever. They send it back, and then it gets produced. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it makes sense in how they do this in terms of like production costs and like timeline.
That makes sense. And yeah, I mean, works. It works. Like, it works for a large scale company.
Yeah,
like that.
and also, like for example, like Disney Plus, like we know where that's like they're doing sometime rendering, then like the Disney Twisted Wonderland or whatever. They're just leasing, they're just putting out money on the table like Netflix for studios, which is fine. That's fine. Yeah. Like that's fine to do. It's just like their studios are being paid, and like I hope they get paid enough, and they do like have some rights to like kind of like merchandise and like kind of gain money after the fact. Because that's the big thing is, like, what people don't understand is that once you, like, do, like, a production, right, you don't really see that much royalties.
No.
Because, like, in the terms, like, you should be paid up front in terms of goods and services. That's what they did. Well, yeah. Well, that's what they usually do, right? Mm-hmm. You were paid for how many frames you draw. You don't really receive anything after that, because that's really up to the company to distribute and make money on that afterwards.
Well, that's what I also find interesting about this sort of stuff, like independent works and stuff by these up-and-coming animators, is like they don't have to rely on a studio. They could just post it on platforms like YouTube. And for wondering who Fizzy Pop is like she came.
Grounds.
Yeah, I mean she wanted it to be on a big studio, but then they wanted to make changes to the story and stuff like that.
Because it's one of those things where it's like they need to do like a wide net as possible because of obviously cash reasons.
Right, yeah, and they want to hit the largest market they can, but she was like, nope, I'm good. And so, it's risky, but they made out pretty dang well. I mean,
it's one of those things where they have more control over like merchandising and money and like how much production is actually put into it.
They also
that's
really good with that merchandising too, by the way.
With Tomar.
So they do really good with merchandising too, because they do update videos and stuff.
They do update videos on like what they're doing and like Black Sit. Like they're very in your face. Like, oh, here's Tomar doing a cool voice doing that song. It's like and like, even for like other stuff like for Oni Place, like Lyle, he does a lot of the voice work for like their commercials and stuff. So it's kind of like because like he already has control of like whatever assets and like things, so it's easy for him to do it because he has his own recording stuff.
Tomar, take my merch.
Take my money, Tomar.
Take my money.
But it's one of those things where it's like they're recognizable to their audience, and that's what they really are doing. They're targeting their hardcore audience because the only hardcore people are going to buy their merch, and that's really smart of them to do. Because instead of like having like a large net, because like one like person who might be interested in might buy the one little T-shirt, but the person who's like really hardcore into the series will buy every single T-shirt. So that's what. One person spent $20 versus one person $60.
Yeah, and I mean like they have a variety of stuff too, which helps too. Like they've got pins, shirts, posters,
dolls and whatnot.
And like and I know for a fact that the people who don't want to spend too much will definitely buy like a pins or something like that. Those are perfect because you don't want to be like, I can understand like if you don't want to spend too much money, and that's a nice little out too. And it's cool because they also give like small post updates, like almost sold out, 60% sold out. Fully sold out, and you're just kind of like, oh man, I want to get on it. And I mean, big companies do it too, and it works out great. Yeah, and I think it's important managing both the creative aspect, like we talked about before, and the sort of business aspect of it, where it's just like you want to make money. That is the objective.
That's the end. That's how you sell your idea to a company.
Yes.
This is how projected sales are going to be in terms of like marketing and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like what kind of characters can we
market and like that kind of stuff. Yeah,
like who's got the selling factor?
Yeah,
like
it's like what makes me money.
Who's cute? Who's cool? How can we portray them in different ways? How can we sell them on T-shirts and stuff like that? And you just kind of got to be like, can I relate to this character enough to buy them?
Yeah.
And I mean, they have a great style, and a big help for that is the style of the show, right? I mean,
it's very cartoonish.
It is cartoonish. It's very colorful and bright, and the characters look nice, and they're very just.
It's easy to draw. Honestly.
Yeah,
it's very shape based.
Very very shape based and slim and just easy. Yeah, easy to animate too.
Yeah, because like literally from my point of view, it's just like, oh yeah, like their arms are just like triangles, like very sloped triangles. I was like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
It's easy to draw. Like overall, like. That's what like my drawing tips are. Just like, yeah, if you're going to do animation, make your character as like simple as possible, body wise, because you're going to be drawing that body over and over again.
They've got a very rubber hose kind of feel to their arms, like their bodies too. Just kind of have that sort of like they don't really like have like a straight bend a lot of the time. It's very curved.
Yeah, I see that. But
like, certain shots, it's different.
Shots, it's very pointed and angular,
yes,
being like,
yeah.
Like you know that the shot where like before they go like, why?
Yeah.
That's the kind of shot where it's just kind of like everything's kind of bent and like everything has like a consistency feel to it.
Yeah, and it also kind of goes into the thing of hell being just like random and shit and nothing really makes sense. So it's like, okay, that's fine. But yeah, I think that they've really hit like
they hit the stride.
They hit the stride and they know their audience and they're just building as it goes. And that's great. That's perfect, and I think that it's definitely a scary thing going out on your own, not knowing if the project's going to work, which I give them tons of credit for because I know it takes so much
Yeah, because it's one of those things where it's like, okay, especially for independent animation, you have to use your own money. Yeah. It's like independent animation is like very much like documentary, where it's like you need a distributor to pick up on it and make your money back.
Yeah,
because that's the only way. That's the only way how. There's not a lot of like independent stuff where you can make money on YouTube, especially like long form documentary, because it's a movie. You're making a movie basically, which is like an hour 50 to maybe 210.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's on YouTube gonna watch the full thing. You can't really collect ad revenue on that, so you need to either sell tickets at film festivals or like have a distributor pick it up. Because other than that, you're kind of screwed.
Exactly. And so there we go. I mean, like that's why the merchandising is so important.
Yeah, so that's why it's independent. Like you should support Patreon creators, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I do like Patreon. It's nice. It's
Patreon's
nice. It's nice to support it. Oh damn, what was I gonna say? Well, speaking of shows, I told you before I've been watching like different cartoons. Like I've watched Amphibia recently, which was fucking phenomenal. Another really good Disney Plus show.
Molly McGee.
I haven't watched that yet.
It's good. I like it.
I'm probably gonna check it out then, because like I just finished She-Ra and the Princess of Power. It was really good. It's really, really nice. It's on Netflix. Highly recommend it.
That's done, right?
No, they're gonna come out with season 6.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I heard like back and forth. They're like, "Oh, there's gonna be season 6 coming out." No, it's canceled. And back and forth.
Yeah, that's what like. I kind of like hear two different stories about that, where it's just like, yo, it's canceled. Like, don't expect anything.
Well, I'm waiting till like May. They said it's gonna come out this May, so I'm like, all right, we'll see.
You mean next May or whatever, next year.
They say it's a hard date. I'm like, okay, well, if I see a trailer, cool. If not, then fine. Because the ending of season 5 seemed pretty. Like there were definitely like loose ends,
but like definitively, like this is like a pretty like.
You could absolutely wrap up the story here.
Yeah,
I would be fine with it. I'd be totally fine with it. So I was like, then I kind of was like, okay, cool. And then I moved on to Amphibia, and Amphibia is just fucking awesome.
I think Amphibia is one of the best like
it is so
cartoons of like this generation.
For a while, I wanted to watch it, and I knew it was going to be good because everyone kept talking about it.
Yeah, I made the decision of like instead of watching Owl House, I made the decision to watch Amphibia. I was just
both
like,
are really good.
Both are really good, but I kind of like the whole kind of like I like Amphibia more just because like the premise is just like more. It's basically a Sekai anime, but like just for like cartoon.
Yeah, it really is, and I something that I really really enjoy it enjoy about it is the 2 episode per one format. So in Amphibia, basically they'll have like
The A and B plots.
yeah.
Yeah.
They'll have 2 and 1 per episode, which is cool. I really like the concept because it covers more ground in the same amount of time,
Yeah.
which I really appreciate. And they get straight to the point of certain stuff. It's like more or less done.
And that's why I kind of prefer, because like I kind of prefer like more shorter, like brief, like okay, I can watch you 50, like half this episode right now, do something else, come back to the other half later.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. And I love it too because it's like you think like, oh, but then they won't have enough time to flesh out the characters. Nope, they'll have even more time because like it covers more ground and it like
in terms of like situations and stuff.
Yeah, and like characters, there are times when characters like something happens and they do spend multiple episodes to kind of flesh it out a little bit. Like it's not in your face too. It's just in the background and characters have to work on it.
Yeah, you just kind of realize it happens. Like,
yeah, and
gradually.
Holy shit, the endings of these seasons are so good. It's like unbelievable too. And for the first season, I was like, okay, so we're just setting the tone. We're trying to understand the world. We know who the characters are and like how this world functions and the sort of the style of the story. And I think for what it is, season 1's really good. Especially the ending is really strong. But then season 2 just fucking goes ham and then kicks it out of the park. Especially with the ending. I got spoiled on one certain thing that happens.
Oh, you just finished second season?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
second season is a bit rough at the end. I was like, oh my god.
It got fucking
It got
dark.
real. It got real fast. I was like, okay.
I didn't know about the,
Yeah.
So, but I did know about,
But they went blooper Saiyan.
yeah. And yeah, dude, I was like, what the fuck? What is happening?
I was like, oh wow, they really do like the whole like fucking Super Saiyan transformation in season 2.
Yeah, and I was like, well, dude, like every time I saw, what's her face or Marcy, and I was like, when's it gonna happen? Because I already knew it's like when.
It's just a matter of like not necessarily of like how, it's like a matter of when.
Yeah, and I'm like, I just dreaded it because the more I like the more time I got to like the character, and I was like, oh god.
That's the thing. It's like you need that's the thing is that you need to have time to bond with these characters to understand like how they're changing, like why they're changing, like how they think in the first place. That's what like there's an Evil movie did very poorly. I was like, I don't know, I can't really bond to anyone because there's too many people.
Yeah, there's too much stuff going on.
Because especially like if you have like a very like tight cast like Amphibia does, like you have the 4 main characters, Grandpa.
Yeah, you got Hop Hop, Sprig, Polly, and then occasionally some other fifth character.
And then the plus one wheel character for the episode.
You could switch that out with pretty much.
And then that's a rotating cast member that you bring in and out constantly. And then story wise, if you need to update their story, you can do that. You could do that one episode the next time. Then you still have half an episode to write for something normal.
Yes. And I will say, in season 1, I was kind of like disappointed that we didn't get more on Sasha just to learn more about her character, but we did get a couple times to see her.
I feel like Sasha was a bit rushed.
Yeah.
In terms of just like generally, but like I feel like it's fine because her story is very kind of basic.
It is. It's
very like Mean Girls-esque.
It's a lesser version of Katra's story in like the She-Ra thing, because like her story, like Katra's is much more tragic, I feel like, than Sasha's just like she wants to like have control over everything, whereas Catra is more, she's like she got a fucking terrible childhood and like is scarred by it. And
that's the thing. I think like you're comparing two different characters there. Where it's kind of like the reason why Sasha's like this is just because like
they play the arch nemesis.
Yeah, and she's just kind of like just the mean girl kind of thing, where it's just kind of like she's just a top dog. Yeah. And like she needs to be top dog constantly.
She's the rival to the main character. They're like the rivals to the main character because they know each other from when they were kids. Because they and like both Catra and Sasha know their respective main characters when they were kids, and then it kind of makes that tragic thing. But we have more time to spend with Catra than we do with Sasha, and that's why I feel like season 1
you could gravitate towards more towards Catra as a character.
Yes,
but I think just like explaining like Sasha is just like why she's like this, because like you don't really want to be attached to this character because and that's the thing about writing too, is like I don't think the writers wanted you to be attached to this character because she is technically a horrible friend and a horrible person in general, because she's just rude, mean, and controlling. And that's the thing that they don't want you to do. They don't want you to grab to her. While in Catra's personality case, like they want you to make you feel bad to relate to her.
Yes.
And that's the thing. It's just like in sort of writing, it's like you need to pick and choose like who do you want your
Yeah.
audience to kind of idolize / like belong with.
Yeah, and it's yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, and I think that the decision they made with just focusing on Anne's like change into being a better person, because Anne at the beginning of the show,
She's kind of just like kind of a bit selfish, but then
she was because she was very much influenced by Sasha. She was like she's like, oh well, I gotta be selfish because everyone else is selfish. But then it's like then she learns.
She's more of like kind of like the sheeple, kind of like this is how the world works.
Yeah.
But then her view is flipped upside down, and then she changes. That's kind of the thing, that just general writing aspect.
And can I just say, I fucking love the comedy in this show.
Oh, it's like top tier.
It's so fucking
good.
great. It's like I will never unsee that, or like just scenes where they just like okay, and then they just like it's a pause and then nothing.
I remember watching the one where it's just like they go to like the robot factory, how Papa just gotta get tied to the thing, and she's like and it's just like he gets like undressed and they shower him. He's like
take your time, and then they just like, stop her.
It's like hurry up.
Okay, never mind, hurry up. Oh god, dude. Oh fuck, it's so funny. And then, like there are times where it's like a character knows what they're doing is like a really just selfish thing, and it's like, yeah, I know, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And like they don't care. Oh, it's so funny. Just like they acknowledge what they're doing is wrong, and they know it's gonna be like
they know it's wrong, but like they do it anyway.
The fact that they acknowledge like the moral tropes in all these like shows, it's like okay, we know, but we're still gonna do it.
Yeah.
Oh god.
But yeah, watch Amphibia. Good show.
It's so good. Yeah, yes, it's very good. And I mean, once again, it's like I know they're probably gonna end it on the 3rd season.
I think because I know this is like the final season. I think because
because it's Disney Plus.
Well, no, it's not just Disney. It's just like the story wise. Like okay, she's back to her own world.
Yeah.
Because like the first kind of season was kind of like a slice of life kind of thing. Until they got to like the end of the first season. And then the second season was more geared towards like finding the actual way back home. Then once they get back home, it's like story act structure wise, like this is the final act, and like they're gonna like tie it all together somehow.
You could definitely have another. You could definitely like string out another season if you wanted to, because there is like a bigger there is a bigger villain in the back that you know is gonna do something, but it's like there's a lot to unpack still.
Because I don't know how farther into the 3rd season there are.
I think they're only in 10 episodes in right now.
Yeah, and there's I think it was like 24.
There's gonna be 24. Okay.
I don't know.
There's usually 20 episodes.
20, yeah, but like I would say 24 is like the standard, like maximum for a TV show.
So it's 20. There was 20 for the first season, 20 for the second season. So
maybe will just do 20, maybe 21, like at the end.
Yeah, if they wanted to extend it, add another like 4 episodes.
Because I think like finale episode would probably be like a one large big bang kind of thing. Because that's what I would say as like a marketing aspect for like Disney would do. Is like okay, make this into like either 1 hour long event or just half-hour TV.
And what's cool is that like having that double episode standard being as it is, and then like it makes it all the more dramatic when all of a sudden it's like one episode and you know something big is going to go down story-wise, and you're like, oh shit, here we go. And that's really cool. But it's usually saved for like the halfway point, the beginning, or the end.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, but it's right now it's very much I think they just came out with another 5. So that was that. Now that they still have 10, so I think they just came out with another 5. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming they're just gonna end it on this season because it's just like
it sounds like they're gonna wrap up pretty soon. I think from just like Twitter, it's just like they're gonna wrap it up eventually.
The only way that I see them being able to wrap up everything story-wise is if each episode basically has something to do with the main storyline from this point on. At least like one half of it still has to connect to the main storyline. Because it's like if it doesn't, then it's like what? Why are we spending all this time on nothing else? Except if we have another season, then
yeah.
But no, I think that they could definitely end it on this season if they wanted to. But
the only thing like for season 3 is just like okay, they're inside the human world and then they have the fucking like FBI behind them. I think that's probably gonna be the midpoint finale kind of thing. It's like oh, FBI is gonna understand or something like that, and they're gonna say. I
was gonna say like, can you just get the military?
Yeah, I'm just kind of like just raid the house. You could get an arrest warrant for something like this, right?
Dude, like just show them your Super Saiyan Blue power and like, yo, can we just invade and go kill the king with your guns? but that'd be cool. Like,
That'd
it
be
just
kind of interesting.
roll up. Yeah, and like, it's just so sick, dude. I love these stories so much. And once again, it goes into the thing. It's like, it looks like a kid's show, but there are
Adult themes.
There are very much adult themes and moments in the show that like break that mold. And it's like those moments where I'm like, yes. And I respect the fact that it is a kid's show, because they do things in smart ways where it's like they could easily do the thing where it's like, fuck, you know, like it's vulgar stuff like that. But in a kid's show, you have to use smarter dialogue and writing to avert and skirt that. And, like, you can't show gore or violence.
Because it's one of those things where it's like, it's for children, right?
It's for children, yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, as adults, we'll understand it. But in terms of, like, children, like, you need to talk to them and not talk down to them, you know?
Yeah. It's very much like the noir kind of films where it's like they couldn't show super graphic violence.
So that's why it's all black.
Yeah, they had to infer it. They had to like hint at it. Like, if someone like gets pulled off screen and you hear or like you sound like someone's getting
or silhouette, or like someone stabbing someone,
or like you see a silhouette of a gun, bang, and it'd be like, someone got shot. Then you get the idea, but you didn't see it. You just saw the silhouette of it. And it's clever stuff like that I have so much respect for, because I know it's like, when you work on a kid's show, you have to do so
much. There's so much checks that you have to do.
So many things you have to be like, okay, so what do I have to change after 5 hours of work? Well, you got to remove this. You got to change that. I'm like, okay.
That's why I think in terms of like storytelling, it's just like when you pitch a show to a network and like, or pilot and gets greenlit, you should at least sort of like list out the entire like first season of like from start to finish. Like, this is what I want core wise. Other than that, we could fill it in with other things that
I would go even further to say that you should have a general understanding of what the ending is going to be.
Yeah, the end. What's the end game, basically?
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, who's like, what's the beginning? What's the beginning, but it'll end.
Yeah.
What's
the point of this? That's the thing. It's like, what is the point?
What happens to the main character? How does the main character grow? And how does the main character resolve the ending?
Yeah.
And what I'm hoping for Amphibia is that the ending is very good, because everything else has been fantastic so far.
The only thing I could say for Amphibia is like everything is just fixed. Like, Marcy does not have to move away. Sasha learns humility.
Yeah.
And Anne's kind of sort of arced out. She's just here to kind of save everyone and bring everyone back together.
And I like the fact that her parents acknowledge that she's like grown as a person, which is awesome. And like, she's actually become a great, just responsible human being, which is nice. And yeah, she doesn't really have much else. I mean, the fact that, I guess, like, it's just, she has that thing where it's like she has to do this all herself is probably her next big challenge, is to learn to let
stress and like cult kind of thing.
But I can't really blame her, because the ending of season 2
just kind of
really
like, okay, you have a gift of a god now, so it's kind of like there's a lot on your table.
Well, it's like, also like, she got betrayed by like 2 people she had total faith in, like in a row, like first Sasha, and then it's like, what the fuck? Like, I don't trust anyone now. Then she got betrayed by Hop Pop a long time ago because of the fucking box. So it's like, okay. But yeah, it's like, her storyline isn't exactly as much like interesting as, say, Sasha.
She's more of like the focal point of like,
she's the good guy.
Exactly.
She's always morally right. She's always basically in the morally right category.
Yeah.
Especially now, because like time has passed and she's learned. I will say, like, the bit with Marcy, like, when we find out that it was, like, her fault, I was like,
I was like, oh, interesting. I was like, I didn't see that coming.
The expressions and, like, everything that happened, I was like, oh, my God, this is, like, emotional. This is really screwed up. But, yeah, it's, like, everything of the show is really well done, and it's just, the characters are great. Even the side characters are really funny.
Yeah.
It's not, it almost has the Steven Universe problem, where it's like, I don't want to focus on these characters right now.
But it's like one of those things where it's like the reason why like the fucking one-off episodes work is because they're just like one-off characters.
Yeah, and I was like, and I was thinking to myself, like, in season 2, I was thinking like, well, okay, but like, why? Like, there was the intro sequence for season 2 where it's basically the same exact thing, and like, it was like they showed all the like towny characters, and I was like, well, I mean, aren't we like leaving the town now? So why are we going? And then they come back. I'm like, okay, well that makes sense. It's like now that they're gone, they're literally just gone. They're not in the story anymore, except
Yeah.
for like the Sasha thing, and like that's fine. But yeah, I mean, now it's just the Anne show.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like other shows I'm kind of watching. I've been watching Hawkeye.
Oh yeah, that one. I feel like that's something we should like kind of stick after we see Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because one of those things I haven't seen Spider-Man yet, and
I
it's kind of like
haven't
I'm waiting to like.
I'm avoiding all.
I've
social
been avoiding
media.
Twitter for the past like 3 days, like past like week and a half.
Even YouTube's not really safe because I see people like, oh, it's great. I'm
Well,
like,
but that's the thing though.
"Shut
Like
up."
my YouTube feed is very different from yours because like I don't do Marvel stuff on
You're smart.
YouTube because I know the YouTube algorithm will be like, oh, you like Marvel stuff? Here's like a bunch of Marvel shit,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, nah.
Yeah. But Hawkeye's really good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fun.
I heard it's pretty good. I just want to kind of sit down and watch the rest because I've only seen like the first two
I got
episodes.
spoiled on a fucking major thing, so
Oh.
well, it's a bit of a big reveal, but I don't if it's who I think it is, like if
Oh,
it's
who
the
the villain?
actor playing the main villain, then I'm like, that's pretty sick, and it could open up a lot of things,
Yeah.
but we'll see. But yeah, I the action's great, the writing's pretty good. I didn't expect to like Hawkeye as a character as much as I did, but
Because he
he's
doesn't
cool.
have time to shine inside the fucking movies. Because like,
Yeah, I mean,
he's
he's just-
very bland, very straight to the point.
Well, yeah, he's just very he doesn't want to be in the spotlight. He's very much just like I'm here, I'll just
Yeah.
do my job. But yeah, there's a lot of cool little once again, like Marvel does a nice little thing of just filling in the gaps and adding little details here and there, like the opening. This is not gonna spoil anything, but there's like an opening where it's a play about them saving
Oh, the
city
Avengers.
in the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
movie, and it was very funny. And like certain small stuff like that is always littered out throughout.
Turns
the
up his
story.
hearing aid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's yeah. I love the fact that he has the someone asked him, so when'd you get a hearing aid? It's like, well, and he has a thought of all the times he got fucked up, and he's just like, oh,
He's been around with many explosions.
Yeah, I'm not sure at this point.
But yeah, I think this is a good point to end the podcast though.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for listening, and Merry Christmas
All right,
and a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, guys. Thanks again, and see you later.
Bye.
Bye.